This is iRacing.
A circuit that has had so many amazing racing moments attached to it that, quite frankly, it's very difficult to distinguish what makes one great moment from another. But what does matter is that this track is the roller coaster of all roller coaster circuits. This circuit is one where high speed takes full center stage, where every corner is a heavy braking zone and every opportunity belies those who are brave enough to challenge on the brakes. Welcome to the Red Bull Ring and your Grand Prix Legends 2025 Season 3. It's your third round of the championship, and it's here live and uninterrupted on the Global Sim Racing channel. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. My name is Jake Sperry. Jeremy Scott is alongside with me for today's action. Daniel Costello jumps into the director's chair, and he's using the cameras provided by Dougie Beard. But a circuit that used to be called the Österreich Ring, the A1 Ring, now sponsored by Red Bull, it's the Red Bull Ring. And it is a circuit that to some needs no introductions, but to others, if you're here for the first time with us, is a GSRC track guide to get you acquainted.
Welcome to the Red Bull Ring. Located near Spielberg, Austria, this track began life in a much more fast and sweeping format. Having gone through multiple different owners, it eventually was snatched up by Red Bull and has its 3 different layouts you see today. While they range roughly between 1 to 2.5 miles in length, the thing they hold in common are fast straights, hard braking zones, and very few corners. In fact, the longest and most common layout, the Grand Prix course, has only 9 of them. Spots like Maurice and Gosser are the most popular corners for overtakes, but both involve dramatic elevation changes. Each have their perils. Maurice tends to see drivers make contact when the blind cutback often goes wrong, whereas Gosser tempts you into braking far too late, and the downhill nature shoots cars miserably into the gravel. A few swift bends still scatter the track, with turns like Lauda, Rent, or A1 really testing a driver's accuracy at high speeds. However, most of them don't send you off into the grass. Rather, there is a lot of paved runoff. But they often include some nasty curves most cars will want to avoid hitting, as they've been known to damage suspension and undertrays. A variety of types of racing compete here, with everything from lower Formula open-wheelers to motorcycles, touring cars, and all the way up to Formula One holding events regularly. Set among the gorgeously picturesque Alps, and including great racing on a challenging and history-rich circuit, it's easy to see why fans and drivers are both eager every time they come for a race.
A wonderful place of great racing action and always opportunities to go and make moves here in Spielberg, here on the base of the Styrian Mountains, here on the south side here of this Austrian country. And now as they sit, when it opened in 1969, of course it reopened back in 2011. 10 turns, of which 8 or 7 of which I should say are to the right, just 3 of them to the left, which includes those 2 corners, turn 6, which is sometimes known as Power Horse, and then turn 7, the Graz corner out there, which leads of course to Jochenrindt at turn number 9 and the end of the lap. It also has one of the most difficult opening corners of the calendar, which will be turn number 1 at Niki Lauda. It is a jutting right-hander with barriers all the way up to the inside, so you are being funneled in, and so often we see drivers move over to the outside and the anti-cut curbs, proving to be a very, very difficult prospect. But as far as things go, it has been a championship where a couple of rounds have continued to bring themselves into play, and it's Jorge Nieva taking the early championship lead over Mick Claridge in second position, and Nicola Cocchi, who is in third place overall. Henry Morse, by value of consistency, is in fourth, with Kevin Verbruggen fifth and Gary Ho in sixth position. The World of Kinducci, Robert Plumley, is up in seventh, with Gary Quellin in eighth position. Rolly Wallbank, representing Sao Tome and Principe, will go from ninth, and then Seb Clapper rounding out your top 10 in the F1 drivers standings. And what makes the difference between F1 and F2 is the key of iRacing. If you have a certain amount of iRacing, you'll go into F1. If you have a different amount, you'll go into F2. Tobias Hernvey is currently leading the F2 standings, with Thomas Willershausen and Zen Carr in third position. Mikhail Zabala is in fourth, ahead of Roberto Pangrazzi, with Mats Linden and Thomas Tuba sixth and seventh. Henry Vieramaki is in eighth position, ahead of Sandeep Banerjee, and Andres Bruno rounds out the category then of your top 10. But this is where the Cup of Nations now lie. Spain have control of the field, with Nieva being dominant at the front. Italy follows behind, with the United Kingdom in third position. Brazil are just 3 points back of that, with the Netherlands in fifth position, just 1 point clear of Hong Kong in sixth place, with the United States and then Sao Tome and Principe there in eighth. Finland will go from ninth position overall at the moment, with Argentina rounding out the top 10 of your Nations Cup. But we are just about moments away from qualifying, but let's get an understanding of what this race is going to be today. We are 23 laps worth of racing action, so you're going to be sat and saying, this is where you need to be finding those laps and overtaking places, lap in and lap out. It's an open setup, so you can make it however easy or difficult you want to drive, but there is no spare car available to you if you crash the car. And with most iRacing servers out there, a drive-through penalty comes into play at 17 incident points, and if you do reach 25, you will get disqualified from this race, a track notorious for the track limits out there overall. Qualifying is currently underway, and the drivers are now putting their first lap times in on the board. Mick Claridge has himself in control of the field right now on a 1:28.175 purple, as you can see on your timing tower on the left-hand side. Kevin Verbruggen is currently second, and then Nicola Cocchi is then in third. No time so far from the likes of Jorge Nieva, who has just gone a little bit deep at turn 4. We focus with Verbruggen at the moment, running through Grass Corner, turn number 7, and looking to go through turn 8, which is a passing style corner, over 200 kilometers an hour now, and up to 250 before hitting the brakes. And you really do have to slow it down to about 140 kilometers an hour to go through turn 9, and slower again for turn 10. There is no aerodynamics to speak of on this car. It's all about weight, lightness, power. Nicola Cocchi, quickest now on a 28 flat, moves to the very front of the field, and that will now allow many other drivers to say, I can find a little bit more. Ricardo Ruiz, for example, has gone up to fifth position, but what can Mick Claridge find on this last attempt of his? Over towards the line, 1:28.184, so was fractionally slower than his first lap time, and therefore this one did not work. You've got Henry Morse out there in 7th position at the moment, really hoping that there is going to be enough to go leapfrogging and finding places out there as far as qualifying goes. Nieva's down in currently 28th position right now on a 1:32.3, so is way out of place at the moment on what is going to prove to be a very tough race. But look at the wheelwork that Henry Morse is having to do. He now gets it squared up and has to fight a bit of oversteer through turn 8. That puts him over the curb, heading towards turn number 9, and so really relying on the suspension to make that work. It's slightly down the hill. Don't push too far wide, otherwise you will get an invalidated lap for an off track, and bouncing over that final curve through turn 10 and over towards the line. Henry Morse crosses and gets a 1:28.752, so fractionally slower going by, and one of the reasons why is the track temperature here today. It's a 40-degree track temperature. It's on the side of oversteer, and so will favour those on their first laps rather than their second. So watch out here, because this is where Jorge Nieva needs that great second lap. And is this going to be enough? 1:28.161. It's the front row at the 11th hour. Jorge Nieva leaving it late. Needed to find a time like that, and ultimately says job done in finding that momentum there. Zenkar as well, who's very much up there in the F2 Championship standings, has a big moment through the final corner, and that's really going to cost some time. Currently on a 1:30.8, and that one will not be an improvement at all. So just the 1 minute remaining here in qualifying, and all drivers who are out there are done with their lap types, and then that does not include this one driver, Roland Lenard, who is in the number 35 car. Just the one split here today, as we normally see with the Lotus 49 Grand Prix Legends Series, which means you can get a wide array of talent that comes through from anywhere from the 13,000 that Aaron Vasquez has, for example, in terms of iRacing, all the way to 1 iRacing if you do find yourself so unlucky to have that much. But Lenard here is really trying to run hard for this one, heading over towards the final couple of corners. The Swiss driver here staying anything but in neutral as he looks to try and run over for the stripe. And is this going to be a time that moves him up the order? The answer to that is no. There was an off track somewhere, and that will be field set then for today's racing action here from the Red Bull Ring. So let's get a grid up then for you, ladies and gentlemen, and talk about exactly where everybody stacks going into today's racing. It will be Nicola Cocchi, who is on the pole position, a 1:28.093. Jorge Nieva will be alongside for company on that front row. It will then follow Mick Claridge and Kevin Verbruggen, with John Olsen and Gary Ho 5th and 6th places, half a second off of pole. Ricardo Ruiz will go from 7th ahead of Henry Maurice, with Arturas Kundelis, the Lithuanian, in 9th, and Rolly Wallbank for Sao Tome and Principe rounding out your top 10. Over then into 11th position, it is Jim Matzan with a Australian legend of the supercar scene on iRacing, Ian Ford, in 12th position. Kurt Clapper and Mickey Friesen will be on row 7, with Gary Quellin 15th and Benjamin Shoko down there in 16th place. It's then the World of Conducci, Robert Plumley, who's 17th, with Mikael Sabala in 18th position. Ray Oliver and Luca Harrison make up 19th and 20th. And in a game of blackjack, it is 21 for Josephine Becker, with Jesus Sanchez Morales getting 2 little ducks at 22. It's then Jose Lamas in 23rd, with Sandeep Banerjee. Johannes Brouwer and Matthew Maudsley are on row 13, with Ben Summers and Zen Carr 27th and 28th. David Tomaszki and Samuel Marr making up the top 30. Just the one car after that who set a representative time would be the 36 machine of Bobby Freeman with a 1:32.6, and the rest of these drivers are all split by iRacing. Jason Clapper, Thomas Willershausen, Michael Grissinger, Seb Clapper, Roland Lenart, and Robert Reynolds, a number 37 car, all the way down at the back of this field. But they look to get themselves sorted and gridded up, and they have 2 minutes to do so, and they will stack all the way back here to that 37th position. And it's worth noting they've only painted 36 grid slots here today. So that is a case of one driver having to line up and work out exactly where they need to be. Uphill drive, it will be towards turn 1 as the lights go out and we go racing. It's a good start by Nicola Cocchi. One car doesn't go off of the start, and immediate dramas as one gets put into the wall there at the back. Robert Reynolds was just about able to avoid that. I think it was Zen Carr who did not go off the start, and there's dramas at turn 1 because the likes of Ben Summers might have just been caught up in something. Ray Oliver just about avoiding Johannes Brouwer having to go off the road, but a nice clean start then at the front as it goes there for Nicola Cocchi, who leads this one out, with Jorge Nieva second and Mick Claridge now fighting for third as Kevin Verbruggen tries to work. John Olsen's had a great start to this race. He's trying to fend off Henry Morse here, who's trying to move on up. Gary Ho up into 5th position has got by John Olsen, so he's -1, in fact, for the day. And off the road, that's going to be big dramas out there, and that's going to be Mick Claridge into the gravel at turn 4 at Rauch Corner. He overcooked it on entry, couldn't get the car to bite with grip, and as such, immediately finding troubles out there. David Tomaszki, who's going to represent Club Nepal here today in the number 34 car, is really trying to work hard in the opening lap with Ben Summers there, Ray Oliver, Josephine Becker, Sandeep Banerjee with a big lock up there going through Graz at turn 7. That will cost a couple places, and it's going to get very busy in the mid-pack as well with Jesus Sanchez, who is there really working hard with Johannes Brouwer there just about going ahead, and of course Sepp Klapper, who, like many of the Klappers who go into this series, start at the back and try and work their way forward. Claridge through on Wallbank as a little bit of mutual respect between Sao Tome and Principe and Tuvalu comes into play. Mick Claridge, the Londoner out there, represents the United Kingdom in the championship out there for the Nations Cup, but ultimately is part of Tuvalu for racing as it goes. Ricardo Ruiz now looking to try and angle right now as we got the top 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, I would say 11 clear at the moment here. Rolly Wallbank, in fact, will be 10. So it will be your top 10 who are clear at the moment here. Well, in fact, we will go to 11 as it goes. Mickey Friesen at 1.8 seconds adrift. There's trouble. There's contact. There's a huge junk up there. Ruiz is there. Kundelis is merged with Jem Matzan in the number 23 machine, and Jem's desperately trying to break away. One of them's going to have to tow, or unless they're going to start moving back up. But there's the clearance. Matzan, all that progress gone, and Arturas Kundelis in the number 5 car. That will be pretty much all you wrote there. Matzan with the black and orange mechanical flag. Michael Grittinger's got one. Roland Lennart's got one. Bobby Freeman has got one as well. Jason Clapper's picked one up too. So it's clear something's happened in the mid to rear part of the field to see 4 cars out of the race as well. But your front 2 all of a sudden are trying to break clear. Jorge Nieva now pivoting against Nicola Cocchi, very much to the likes of what we saw last week, going for the race lead, and Cocchi on the outside just about holds for Bruin with the fast lap of the race. Pinches down well on Jorge Nieva, who can't quite do anything enough there to make that move a reality. So dramatic start, to say the least, here on lap 3 of 23 on the brakes. Uphill braking zone here into turn 3, which of course has been known as the Ramus corner in its past, but it's currently unnamed as a corner, turn number 3. But uphill braking zone makes this one very difficult because you've got to brake a lot earlier. You're going down the hill by comparison here on what is a very elevationally challenged circuit between each and every single corner. So you've got to be very switched on to each place where you've got to hit the brakes, especially with the long braking zones here and the, I would say, not as good brakes as modern day that are there in these cars currently. But it is 1, 2, and 3 clear. Gary Ho desperately trying to hold on to this group with John Olsen in P5, Morse in 6th, and then Ricardo Ruiz and Mick Claridge now up into 8th position, up into Jochenrink corner and back down the hill again, looking at each and every place where a move can be done. Nieva just trying to prioritise the exit here, coming out of the final corner and hoping that here, heading on to lap 4 here of 23, that the move is going to be made. On the brakes and searching for Bruin again, closing this one back in, but it's a great run off the exit, and Nieva pivots, looking over towards the outside, hoping to make that move. It will turn to the inside through the Munzer corner, turn 2, which in German translates to the money corner out there. Cocchi takes the outside line and slides through the middle of the corner, loses all that momentum off the exit, and Kevin Verbruggen picks up a freebie and moves on up into 2nd position. Nieva, your new leader. Verbruggen is 2nd, and Nicola Cocchi has now found himself to the back of the front train in position number 3. Let's take a look at Luca Harrison then off of the start. So there was already that drama that came through off of the get-go, but Harrison, just completely misjudges it, goes full Ralf Schumacher spec as he goes into the air and ultimately finds himself there. And there was secondary dramas behind as someone ran over someone else. I think that would have involved Bobby Freeman, maybe Roland Lennart. There as well was caught up, and Jason Clapper, the number 11 car, but that was very dramatic to say the least. There is Ian Ford, who is a member of many a great sim racing team in the past, and is certainly hoping to prove that number 12 all-red machine can get by Robert Plumley and Mikhail Zabala out there, who's got the Pepe machine in full spec at the moment, all nice and green and blue at the moment. Eyes pretty much everywhere for Mikael Sabala, but Plumley having to defend, and Ian Ford is now going to try and think, well, can I afford to make this move? Not going to happen then in through Lauda, but he tries to open up the X. He gets a massive shoot through as he goes by. Top right of your screen, this is what happened with Arturas Candelis, so they were already checking up, and Candelis ultimately gets run over by Jem Matzan. The way they collide, effectively, they find themselves in and amongst each other, and it takes forever to decipher, and the wide line having to be taken by Ford, and that opens up the door for another Australian out there, Benjamin Shoko, to try and find a way through. So the two Aussies there together trying to work it out, and I'm just looking there at Benjamin Shoko's car, and it is missing the front, so he's going to have some very cool feet by the time he gets to the end of this race. That much is for certain, but it is a case of for the Bananas in Pyjamas car, Benjamin Shoko, that he's more than chasing teddy bears. He's chasing a lot more out there, like another position gain. 1, 2, and 3 remaining close again as we got Verbruggen chasing Nieva, chasing Cocky as your front three, but I would say it's a front five at the moment, with John Olsen and Gary Ho bringing themselves into perspective. Gary Ho having a career day at the moment in 4th position. Here is a driver who's always been in and around the top 10, has never truly been able to set himself out into that next level, and so it has been a really tough berth for him. So it's nice to see him catching that leading group with John Olsen, and soon Henry Morse, Ricardo Ruiz and Mick Claridge will try and get themselves into positions as well. A look to the inside for the race lead though, as that will be a good pass. Not just one place, but maybe two. Nieva gets the power down nicely, coming up over the top of turn 3 and heading towards Ralph corner at turn number 4. He's going to be a little boxed in on the outside line, inside for Nicola Cocky to go and get that place, and sweeping down the inside, it's going to be comfortably dispatched of. So Cocky holds second as Nieva now takes his turn, dropping back into 3rd place through the two left-hand bends out there. Mick Claridge through on Henry Morse. That moves him up as Morse, I think, missed a shift on the outside of turn 4 at Rauch, and that missed shift ultimately allowed places to be made there for the pair of both Claridge and Ruiz out there. There's Johannes Brouwer trying to go around the outside and pick up another place, already up 8 places then, but down the inside, that is Ian Ford who has dropped back 6 places. So Ian's had himself troubles because he's outbroken himself into Rauch corner. He's done well to keep it out the barriers, but he's had to go in the gravel, and Nicola Cocky's not a million miles away from the race lead down the inside of turn 1 and goes and gets that move. So pack mentality, 5 at the front, and Verbruggen's not giving this one up straight away. Will now move to the outside, looking to try and make this move, and sitting back and waiting for the right time to strike, which is immediately in his eyes, and he'll look to get some drive off the exit, just enough room given on the outside. It's not a case of I won the apex so I can shut the door however I want, but that is wonderfully done. Kevin Verbruggen gets his pass, and there's traffic there at the apex, which they're running to, which is Robert Reynolds, who decides everybody go through. Nieva now trying to force an issue here to hope that 3 wide is an opportunity, but will not quite find it at the moment. Now trying to run on through, but 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They will keep themselves in play. Verbruggen still holding with Cocky, Nieva, Ho and Olsen there. Claridge now up into 6th past Ricardo Ruiz. So recovering wonderfully in this race. Mick Claridge, who is a legend when it comes to the Lotus 49. He has got one of the biggest winning streaks out there ever. This is Matthew Maudsley's troubles in through the opening corners. He overshoots the corner, gets up over the top. Oh, and then you go 1, 2, 3. Everybody goes around, and Matthew Maudsley there picking up that hit, effectively saying day done. Serpentine on the front stretch then as they try and figure out where's the best place to go, and the answer is down the hill, use gravity to your advantage, and they can ride these anti-cut curves because they have quite a high ground clearance for these cars. So it's a case of you're not going to have anything like ground effect, which is going to cause a lot of troubles out there. Everybody fans out, but nobody wants to be willing at this point to make a move. But it is slightly deep there from Verbruggen into the corner, and it could be 8 now at the front of this field. In fact, I'll argue it is at the moment. 8 cars clear at the front and a big 5-second gap back to Rolly Wallbank, who's in 9th position. So it shows you the ebbs and flows of racing like this, that you got to be in the train to go and win a race like this. And we take a look here with Gary Ho racing from Hong Kong with a wonderful full motion rig setup, the H pattern shifter that's there, virtual reality as he turns through the corners, and the Lotus 49 steering wheel that is there on the front. As far as sim rigs go, that is a beauty of a sim rig for Gary Ho as he looks to try and get as much immersion as he possibly can, but also look to defend here to turn 9, because here comes John Olsen trying to have a little bit of a look, racing for Sao Tome and Principe and not getting that one through, running a car with the flag colours of Sao Tome and Principe out there at this point. So really showing what's there. And Mick Claridge has joined the group now here in 6th place. So this is now getting a little bit more invested and a little bit more intense here at the front of this field. And back down the hill once again, Kevin Verbruggen will keep an eye in his mirror as we take a look from that Ford DFV Cosworth engine, possibly the best engine out there in the world. And so really trying to work out whether he can get that fine-tuned enough to stave off the challenges of Nieva and Ho and Cocky and Olsen and Claridge, but they're going to have to keep their eye on engine temperatures, because this is a track where you're spending at least 70% of the time at full throttle here around this place. So you are going to be burning up the engine a lot more. Keep an eye on the oil temperatures as you go about, and there will be a bit of brake fade as this race goes on with such heavy braking zones around this place. Through turn 6 and over towards turn 7 at Grass Corner once again, and still it is very much a case of, hi, how are you doing? Let's hand out your business cards, because nobody's really wanting to go and make a statement now at this point. Nobody's throwing what they can. I do want to point out Seb Clapper though here in the number 31 car. Started 35th on the grid and is up to 11th place out there in this race. Really flying and doing a wonderful job of putting points together. This is Robert Reynolds going through the opening corner. I think he's just trying to let drivers through, and he takes a tap from behind. A little bit of miscommunication finding itself in play. Gary Ho now with the fastest lap of a 1:28.2 there on that last go around, and crucially enough, a fastest lap has to be clean out there. Cocky now pivoting towards that inside. It's deep on the brakes then from Verbruggen, who understeers through the middle of the corner, oversteers trying to get the turn in, and Nicola Cocky gets the run. Will he get some help along this straight from Jorge Nieva, or will Nieva try and pitch an angle to what is needed? He backs out of it. Cocky's got the inside line down the hill at Route Corner. He'll get that one, and Nieva's going to try and sneak on through. He'll get one, but might try and think, can I get the race lead? Answer's no, and they all decide to lift off a little bit heading into turn 6, so that gives the room that is necessary, and the move done wonderfully. Claridge now up into 5th place, but Nieva dives down the inside at turn 7, looking for this pass on lap 10, trying to work out that around the outside is going to be tough at turn 8, and that will bring Kevin Verbruggen with an opportunity to look through, and so too looking for opportunity is Mick Claridge there into turn 9 here on Gary Ho at Jochen Rindt. So close to making that pass, having to think that discretion is the better part of valor. Attack off of these exits, and you've got a much better chance of making the places happen. So again, it becomes a waiting game, and placement in a race like this that is so draft dependent key. There's a big lunge down the inside. Mick Claridge comes through, gets that place, but he gets no drive on the exit. John Olsen almost tags the rear right of the suspension, and that brings a case of these three battling together, but they're battling hard at the front as Jorge Nieva now brings himself into position and says, can I find that pass? Can I find that move? can I find my statement out there at the moment? Cocky's not got a good run off of the corner, and Jorge Nieva once again is going to drive with absolute intent straight down the inside in towards turn number 4 at Rauch, still hoping that around the outside is going to be the good job. And Jeremy Scott, welcome in. What a moment we've had in the first half of this race. Cocky still fighting hard at the inside of turn 6, looking to Grath corner at turn 7.
Well, no surprise that Cocky now takes the lead so far, bringing Verbruggen with him, but Nieva, they're just going nose to tail. You're on board with Verbruggen, as one wrong move could end both of their races heading into Rindt right now. Still, Nieva getting that advantage. Here comes Verbruggen to the inside of Cocky. He's going to make a statement here. He wants that first spot, but first he's got to get around Cocky. Not going to make anything happen through the very tight turn 10. Looks pretty deceiving in any car, but especially in these lack of downforce cars. You also have a battle from Olsen, Ho, and Ruiz. That's for 5th spot.
Yeah, Gary Ho ran wide at turn 9, and John Olsen there for Sao Tome and Principe looking for that move, but around the outside it works again. Ricardo Ruiz is bringing himself back in, and so too is the ever-comparable Henry Morse out there, who's looking at each and every position. And now they fan out. Olsen will have the inside here up the hill towards turn number 3 out on track, but ultimately can't outbrake Gary Ho, who's got the drive that's there, and suddenly there is a splinter in the groups. It's 4 and 4, and this is what makes life easier for those in 3rd and 4th position. Nobody to worry about behind, and again Olsen tries the outside line, and Ricardo Ruiz just pins it down to the inside and says, I'll have that one. And Henry Morse is thinking, well, if we're doing gift bags, I'll have a freebie.
Yeah, try and take 2 for 1. Not a bad comparison there. As you see, Olsen falling all the way back to Asa, Morris, Ruiz, and Ho, able to gain on that so far. But Olsen, do not count him out yet. Look, we're just a little bit past halfway, so anything can happen, but I would not be surprised to see Olsen get back up there. Here's Ian Ford in the 15th spot as he's trying to catch up to Quellen there. About 0.2 of a second separate the two drivers for 14. Still plenty of time for Plumlee really to get away there as you look all around the Red Bull ring, Jake. This is one of those races to where you don't necessarily need to worry about the draft because you're going to catch up to it anyway.
Oh, you are, but it's one of those cases, if you lose it, you know you've lost it. So Quellen, Ford, and a 3 lap down Jen Matzan's there. Kevin Verbruggen now climbing up the hill once more. They had to just lap Luca Harrison there as they went up into turn 3. Nieva now taking laps led at the front. I do also want to keep an eye out on that 3rd group on the road. Seb Clapper's pulling away from it, but you got Rolly Wallbank, Mikael Zabala, and Benjamin Shoko there fighting for just outside the top 10. As here comes John Olsen.
Yeah, once again, mentioned that Olsen, he's one to watch and setting himself up for Morse through the inside of Rauch and getting through turn number 5. That number 8 car in 8th place, still making hay and makes his way into looks like got a lap car actually that's back there, but still Olsen really doing his best to get back up to that train. But it's going to be a little bit harder because Ruiz and Morse have really broken apart between the two of them right there.
It is a rather small circuit for what it is out there, and so you do get the lapping process a bit more. Robert Reynolds having to stay out of the way of the leaders. This is Jose Llamas, who is there in 19th position at the moment. And for Llamas, it's a case of Ray Oliver just in front, number 19 machine, and Johannes Brouwer, 17th, 18th, 19th right now. And at every point down in this sort of scenario is going to matter because we keep pointing this one out. Everybody looks around at everybody else and says, what am I going to do? Where am I going to find? And ultimately, Johannes Brouwer holds his station. Ray Oliver then just behind in 18th. Thinking of a way to go through, but speaking of ways to go through, Ricardo Ruiz down the inside against Gary Ho, and the driver from Hong Kong is going to need to find himself a little bit more out there. It's going to be a drag race once again over towards turn number 4, and look at Gary try and pinch. Oh, they're almost tyre banging on their way down into Rauch corner. Round the outside, tries to look. Ho has to open up the steering, and Ruiz holds.
Now Ruiz is also going to bring the number 6 of Maurice with him, as Maurice is going to get another spot, but not so fast as Ho does his best to go around the outside, I should say, to keep that position just around the 6-7 complex, as Ruiz, he's a lead train, now sets himself up for Claridge, who Claridge now looks like that he's caught up to this battle for second place with Kaki. Oh, by the way, that's now 4-car battle for the lead. Nieva, Kaki, Verbruggen, and Claridge. 1, 2, 3. Oh, a little wide by Kaki, as Verbruggen's going to try and go for second place. He's been itching at it the past couple of laps. And Jake, I've got to say, I think that this might be his chance into one. Indeed, they're side by side, nose to tail now, as Verbruggen gets that second spot, sets his sights up on Nieva.
Well, look, that's cost them about half a second. Jorge Nieva is now 9/10 clear at the front of this field. They've got to get themselves sorted now, otherwise they'll lose the train. And it's half defensive there from Kevin Verbruggen as he went through the Dutch driver through turn 3. Look at the gap now, 1.1 seconds. And Nieva knows that if it's 1.5, the rubber band snaps. There's no slipstream to help you. You need pure pace. But the one saving grace for this group of 3 right now, second, third, and fourth, is they've got a hard-charging Mick Claridge. Gary Ho again having to be on the defence, and there's contact. Gary Ho into the side of Ricardo Ruiz. They were fighting 3 wide. It was a battle on the brakes, and over the top of the wheel of Henry Morse. Gary Ho, nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's not something you want to see, especially into turn 4. Better it happened there than turn 3, like we saw in the Grand Prix. And we've got a spinner, and that's going to be it's going to be Ruiz once again, as he loses it going through turn number 6. Oh, just a rough past couple of corners for Ruiz, as now he falls back to 9th. At least that's a saving grace for him. Doesn't fall out of the top 10, but you still got Zabala, Wallbank, and Zoko back there to pounce should something happen. Now Olsen only has to worry about the driver ahead of him, and that's Henry Morris. Nieva with your fastest lap of the race so far, but still Ho had a couple of fast cars behind him. Now just sets his sights on one. Battle for second place heats up once again between Claridge and Verbruggen. That's giving Nieva a good chance to breathe. And look who else is coming into place. It's Nico Kaki to the inside of turn number 3. Yeah, a slowdown. Okay.
Yeah, it's a slowdown penalty here that's gone and caught Kevin Verbruggen out, so he's had to really slow down the pace in order to let them through, and that's cost them 0.3 of a second to Jorge Nieva. And so Mick Claridge is going to be tasked with doing all the work to hunt down Nieva, who is the championship leader. So it's going to be a really tough day out there at the moment, and ultimately for Jorge Nieva, who said last week he wasn't going to represent any country on iRacing because he thinks that he is a man of the people of all countries. So effectively now he is known as Mr. Worldwide.
Mr. 305, as they like to say. And yeah, he's actually getting out there. 1.4 seconds separates Nieva from Claridge. Will there be enough time coming across the line? We work on lap number 17 of the Red Bull Ring, and it's going to be interesting to see if Claridge, Kaki, and Verbruggen can hook up and catch into each other. We've noticed the past couple of laps that there's always been battles that have given Nieva a chance for some breathing room. Well, now it's 1.2 seconds, but will that last? You know what? History says no, but Kaki with the fastest lap of the race, so maybe there might be something to this 3-car train with Claridge at the head of it.
Well, it's all about keeping the pace up, and these drivers in 3rd and 4th will be relying on Mick Claridge here to just piggyback them along these straights. And each and every corner you've got to get right, and Verbruggen picks up a nice run through turn 3. It's uphill on the exit, and one thing to note here, Jeremy, none of these straights here around the Red Bull Ring are ever truly straight when you go from turn 1 all the way to here, turn 4, and then over to turn 6.
Yeah, it's going to be, you need finesse to take these 49s around this circuit because you have no downforce. So that's what makes things just interesting. And here's what's also interesting too, Jake. The corners here off the straights, they're all heavy braking zones, good passing opportunities for these cars as you were on board with to see how these cars are handling around. Verbruggen, they're sitting 4th, and we've got a black flag.
Oh, and that will be a drive-through penalty for Henry Morse for hitting 17 incident points in the race, and that is fairly early on for him. He's averaged 1 a lap so far, and he's been caught up in instants like the one with Gary Ho, which would have put 4 on him, and so he's going to have to trundle down the lane. And it is worth saying, it is just 70, I believe 80 kilometers an hour down through this lane, so very tough to go and get that penalty this early on, and that will really temper momentum. But Cocky is under pressure now, who's having to defend this one from Kevin Verbruggen for the last spot on the podium, and they're going to race for the apex, and Verbruggen nowhere to go. It was Nicola Cocky saying, that's my apex, do not fight me for it.
Verbruggen with a great little save there, but loses a spot in the time being. And of course, you also saw Nieva having to deal with the lap traffic, and yeah, that 17 getting out of the way. And I was thinking too, Jake, I cannot remember the last time we've had a black flag this early in the race.
It's been a little while out there, but we'll take a look at where he's picked this one up. So Henry Morse here, who's trying to really open up the corner to try and get through. Now, the way that iRacing works out some circuits is that it's half the car over the curb. Sometimes it's all 4 over the curb, and so you're really having to play a little bit of a dicey nature with the way that those elements are. A car is considered off track within the track limits if half the car is within the boundaries of the track. Look at Zencar now.
Yeah, Zencar doing their best to get up towards the head of this train at the very least. But yeah, you know what? It's easy to say, okay, half the car, but that section there where he copped the black flag, it's so tough to keep the car there that much under the rumble strips, because you've got to keep that momentum, especially if you have a driver behind him freezing with a nice little pass there.
Mickey Friesen is on the back of this group. So for Matthew Maudsley, he loses out. That's Josephine Becker making the move then, and she will jump on up then, will the German driver, then to look at Matthew Maudsley and say that's P23 that's made and done. Now here comes another little look, but Friesen has to continue backing out, in fact, for 22nd, and that's a mistake there by Josephine Becker, who all that hard work, it's gone, and runs into the back of Mickey Friesen. Friesen holds it out the barriers.
That's a nice save by Friesen, but Becker losing the nose of that 27. See if how that's going to affect the rest of their race. There's Johannes Brouwer with a nice little gap, and of course you've got Morales trying to go for 19th here into turn number 3. Takes a peek to the inside, not going to make anything happen. That's still not too bad of a lap there from Morales, but a little bit further back than he'd like.
Well, there's a lot in Spanish naming convention that goes through, that a lot of the Spanish drivers, you have 3 names out there on the sim racing sphere. It goes first name, father's surname, mother's surname. So it is Jesus Sanchez. So it's never good when you're in Spain. You always have about a 50-50 shot, as Gary Ho now still has to fight out there against Seb Clapper, who started right down at the back. He's now up to P6. What a drive. You always have half a chance of guessing bank account details because you automatically get your mother's maiden name.
Oh, it's always a good thing is right now Gary Ho catching up to the back of Clapper to get that position back that he wanted. Dives to the inside, but Clapper with a nice little defense there. As I'm watching the tower also, Jake, take a look at that battle for the lead. It is really shortening up as Claridge has really zoomed in on Nieva. Now it's a half a second with 4 laps to go, but this is also a fantastic battle between Clapper and Ho.
It is, and at least for the moment, Clapper's got the place and has done very well, and is almost stick-like by the enigmanity of what Seb Clapper is doing out there, and really driving with a lot of intensity. And there is a slow Kevin Verbruggen then going through off of turn number 7. I wonder if he's come together with Nicola Cocky on the lap. It looks like they might have done out there, and so they've really dropped back now to 4 seconds. So I wonder if we can get a look at what's happened. It might have been turn 3 where it's gone wrong for them. Kevin Verbruggen and Nicola Cocky have driven themselves out of the race for the win.
Yeah, what a shame, because those 2 drivers were set to poise. They could keep up with Claridge, who looked set to really catch up to Nieva here near the end. that they were going to act the battle for the lead and possibly the win. It would have been a 4-car battle, but still, I have a feeling that this Nieva-Claridge battle, that's not going to go away anytime soon, as we see Verbruggen trying to get around Cocky for the bottom step of the podium. So still a lot to play for with 3 laps to go, as Verbruggen gets heavy on the brakes as Cocky goes a little bit earlier through turn number 3, but still line of stern out of Am's Ag as they work their way through the, actually that's, through Rauch and into 5 and 6.
Yep, now through turn 6, Kevin Verbruggen continues to remain close. Gap at the front to half a second now for Mick Claridge, who, remember, had himself in the gravel in the opening lap of the race, dropped way down the order, and he's had to fight back to try and get this race win overall. Verbruggen now looking to open up and try and get this one clean through then on Nicola Cocky, and he does at turn number 9. Cocky nowhere to go, cannot find it, as that was a wonderful block pass out there that was more akin to seeing a USAC dirt ump that was trying to go through by comparison than the likes of, say, what this Lotus 49 is. Brilliant scrapping between them.
That's why you saw a lot of drivers in the United States who ran these open wheel type cars run dirt, because it gave him great training. Ooh, a little bit of a wiggle out of Cocky as he comes off of turn number 1. Verbruggen right now holding that 3rd spot, and the battle for the lead really heats up as well between Nieva and Claridge. 0.2 of a second, less than a car length separate the 2 drivers. Claridge is right where he wants to be, but can he get around Nieva with the defensive line? It's the driver in the number 1 through Roush, and they'll set themselves up into 5 and 6.
Well, the question I'm going to ask you here now, Jeremy, who would you rather be in this scenario, Jorge Nieva or Mick Claridge?
You know, Nieva's really good at the defense, but honestly, I'd like to be Mick Claridge, because I can at least control my destiny. You really can't block too good in these cars, because it will obviously create some sort of issue with whether it be, you have a car on top of you, or regardless, you make the wrong move, and at the line, you're basically race over.
Well, it could be race over if you're not too careful, but these drivers have given themselves a 5-second buffer over at the front of this field. Through turn number 10, Barney will wave the white flag to indicate we've got one more lap of racing. Jorge Nieva has done brilliantly on the front of this group all race long. Mick Claridge has had a long fight to get back to this position, and he'll only get one real opportunity to throw the dice and say he'll get that run. It's now about placement. Where do you go? All the way to the right-hand side of the road goes Nieva. Mick Claridge has got to figure out where his best angle is, up towards turn number 3. Can he get it done the long way around? Nieva throws it into the apex. Can he block off the exit? Gets a nice drive, but Rauch, turn 4, that's the last great place to make a move. Anything out from there is now a case of trying to find a little place here or a little place there, and I don't think Mick Claridge is in the right position to make this move happen. Nieva's on the inside, and Claridge is trying to go up and under, can't quite manage to find that move. Verbruggen still holds 3rd position behind, but now at turn 6, big lunge down the inside from Mick Claridge, trying to get it done at the latest available opportunity. He's got the inside for Kraft corner at turn 7. Jorge Nieva still trying to go around the outside. Now will he have drive off the exit? This is brilliant stuff between them. Out of 8 they go, over to 9. Nieva still has the hold to Jochenrink corner, and Mick Claridge, who's thrown what he can at it, now needs to find an almighty amount of drive out of turn 9, because here comes turn 10 and the final drive to the line. Nieva will stave the charge. Mick Claridge did what he could, but just too short. Nieva wins at a Red Bull Ring.
What a finish from Nieva. Claridge threw everything but the kitchen sink at Nieva, and still was able to hold on to stay in second. Verbruggen able to hold off Cocky for that 3rd spot. But man, what a race for the finish here.
Incredible racing, and we'll see incredible racing all the way to the line as the drivers now start to cycle themselves through a top 10 for Henry Morse out there after finding himself with a drive-through penalty. Jesus Sanchez not giving this one up then, as he looks to try and get up to 18th place with Sandeep Banerjee having a really nice run of things. it does indicate here that there have been drivers who've been really pushing. And look at this going through around the outside. Is that Yamas then going by? Jesus Sanchez got a black flag penalty on the last lap of the race. And what he won't know is that that will not be served on the last lap. He will still take a 40-second time penalty.
That is absolutely rough. Jesus Sanchez Morales with a great race, but yeah, that black flag penalty really going to hurt him here in the last lap as Tomaski tries his best to get up into that 25th position. Not going to make it happen, but still valiant effort out of the driver from the ball.
Yeah, so wonderful jobs there, but confirmation will come up. There is your winner, Jorge Nieva. Absolutely magnificent driving, and Benjamin Shoko bringing some massive 11s, then being left on the runway, so to speak, in the midst of the Styrian Mountains here. But confirmation of result, 34 minutes on the dot to get this race sorted for Jorge Nieva, as he wins by 0.2 of a second over Mick Claridge in second overall. In the end, it would be Kevin Verbruggen who ends up third, with Nicola Cocky in fourth position, John Olsen and Gary Ho fifth and sixth. What a day for the both of them, getting a strong finish. Seb Clapper then, some would say the fake Clapper, is there from 35th up to 7th by the end of proceedings, with Ricardo Ruiz and Mikael Zabala then in 9th position, a gain of 9. Your top 10 is rounded out by Henry Morse.
Take a look at 11th all the way down through 20th. You see Benjamin Soko, who did the 11s afterwards, finishes in 11th. Rolly Wallbank in 12th. Ian Ford, Robert Plumley, and Gary Quellen round out your top 15. If you're looking at 16th, you see Kurt Clapper, Ray Oliver in 17th, Sandy Banjurji with an 18th finish, Jose Llamas 19th, and 20th, Johannes Brouwer.
Over the page to 21st, where Matthew Maudsley had a little bit of an adventurous day today to finish in that 21st position, ahead of Mickey Friesen and Ben Summers in 23rd. Zen Carr, who is in the F2 Championship, then gets a +4 day to 24th, with David Tomaszki and Thomas Willershausen then 25th and 26th. It then follows Josephine Becker in 27th for the number 27 car, and with the penalty late, Jesus Sanchez Morales will be the last car classified on the lead lap in 28th. 1 lap down would be Samuel Marr, and then Jem Matzan would be 3 laps down, and only a handful of drivers then on the lap down screen, and all retirements.
Yeah, you get Robert Reynolds in 31st, Michael Grissinger 32nd, Luca Harrison 33rd, Arturas Kundelis with a rare drop in 34th, Ronald Leonard in 35th, Jason Clapper in 36th, and Bobby Freeman rounding out your field in 37th spot. Last 4 drivers, Jake, 22 laps down.
Yeah, we're going to take this opportunity now to chat with some of our drivers, and where else to start than with Mr. Worldwide himself, Jorge Nieva, going back-to-back with victories. That would have been a very big sweat for you, Jorge, over the final lap of that race, with Mick Claridge just bearing down fangs, and you able to hold it around the outside of 6 and 7 to keep and get your race win.
That was amazing and exhausting. It was really nice all the race with Nicola and Kevin and of course Mick in the end with that recovery he did. It was one of my best races in racing, I think.
Well, it's one of those races where you got to be in the right place at the right time to start, and especially when it started to grow that main group. It was a group of 3, a group of 4, a group of 8 at certain points. How important was the car placement being up near the front of that the entire time to give yourself that little bit of a break when everybody started battling everyone else?
Yeah, I think I was lucky that the guys behind started fighting a bit when Mick caught the group. And I wanted Mick to be in the group because he's a chaos factor, and I thought maybe that way we could have an easier finish in the end. But well, he did it really nice. He was able to fight for the win after that bad move on the first lap. I think it was a bit of luck by my side, I think.
You make your own luck in racing out there, and you've certainly had a very nice start to this season. Do you believe that that nice start can continue heading towards next week and the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course?
I like Mid-Ohio. I don't think if I will be fast there, but of course I will try.
Well, we will wish you the best of luck. Jorge Nieva crossing the line and picking up victory here today from this wonderful Red Bull Ring. Jeremy Scott has taken the virtual walk down pit lane, and I believe he stood by with Mick Claridge.
Ah, Mick, I've got to say that last lap you had with Jorge Nieva, that was stuff of legends. Congratulations on second place. Talk us through what your thoughts were, especially trying to get around for the lead there in 6 and 7.
Oh man, I was up to I don't know if it was 15 or 16x at that point, and I just thought I'm still going to go for it. So yeah, I don't know. Jorge was quick through the left-handers there. So yeah, and he had a nice run, and it's the same old thing. I haven't run that line offline there through the left-handers all week, not once. Haven't even tried it. So I don't think I could have gone much faster through there, to be honest with you, to be next to him. But he had a better line, I think. So yeah, no chance. But great race.
Well, I also have to say, too, it was amazing seeing, Jorge was about 2 seconds ahead, and essentially by yourself, you were able to eat up that distance without any help. How did you do it?
Well, I changed the setup this morning and found about a 10th, and that's really all you need. We were all at the same sort of pace. I found a 10th in the car, and I was able to just catch up because I was just jumping from toe to toe to toe. And it was a nightmare. The first lap, when I span the headset, I don't know if you guys remember last season, but I had a real problem with my headset. I got a black screen and just took Nick out from the lead at Matigi. The same sort of thing happened again. It lost tracking, and I was going down towards turn 2, the hairpin, and my headset just went about a foot lower than it was. So I was just staring at my feet in the car, and bless her, my girlfriend sat next to me, and I got her ready to reset it if it ever happened. I was saying, press it, press it, press it, press it. So it went back to where it should have gone. But then by that time, I had to get round turn 2, and then I just lost the plot. I haven't got I'm on a ye old G25 here, so I haven't got a button to reset my head mounting display. So yeah. But that's all it was. I mean, when I saw the guys in front, I knew I'd have a chance, because the car was quick, and as long as I could keep in some toes. I've got to apologise to Gary Ho into turn 1. I weren't even going for a pass there. If I never moved offline, I would have hit him. So yeah, it just turned into a crazy overtake. So yeah, but just nuts, bonkers race. I think I've found my new base setup for me this season, I think.
Well, it's good to know that I'm not the only one with technical difficulties today, but nonetheless, next week, Mid-Ohio. What are your thoughts going into that? The very technical course, a couple long straights, but mostly a lot of twisty bits as well.
Yeah, I love Mid-Ohio. I don't know what it is. I like the old style tracks, Mid-Ohio, like Summit, Lime Rock, all that sort of stuff, Road America. I love tracks that look old, I don't like brand new tracks to run 49 on. I'm just a bit anal like that. So I love it already as soon as I get there. The lack of grip is, I don't know why, but it doesn't really affect me that much there. It's just a slippery track that is really technical, and I love it. I think it's one of the best tracks we got.
Second place, Mick Claridge, congratulations. So close yet so far away.
Yeah, cheers, mate. See ya.
Well, Cenk, let's see what you got for our next interview here. I believe that might be it, though.
I would say there would love to be another driver out there we'd have a chat with, but unfortunately we do not. So let's call the curtain here from action at the Red Bull Ring here in Austria. Want to give a massive thanks to the team who has brought this one over to you today, from Jeremy, from Daniel, and from Dougie. You can catch all of the most amazing sim racing here with us on the Global Sim Racing channel as part of a Genesis Extreme production by seeing all of what is to come. Next time out in in 7 days, will be at the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course, and that will be a very interesting challenge. For those who have watched IndyCar, you will know all too well what makes Mid-Ohio so great. The run to China Beach at turn number 4, that attack out through Thunder Valley to end the lap as well. It's always going to be interesting in the late lap. Same time, same place, 7 days from now. You do not want to go and miss it. As far as some of the other shows that we've got coming along on this week, we've got the likes, of course, of your brilliant GT series out there, your Camel GT Legends, and of course, we've got Lotus 79s, which will be coming up a little bit later on. Make sure you tune in with us on the Global Sim Racing channel for that. But as far as days go, Jorge Nieva is proving that this is a championship season for him as he goes to battle for it. Mick Claridge having to do everything he could to bring himself back. Both he and Jorge said it's one of the best races that they've both driven. Not both of them can be winners, but only one. Nieva now will march on strong as he heads to Mid-Ohio as your championship leader.
This is iRacing.